Hello, good morning.
Good morning, BBs. It's too early.
It sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. I'm Anthony Carboni.
And I'm Saige Ryan.
Saige, last night, I went to a screening of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Have you watched it yet?
I have not watched it. And you didn't watch Megan, so
no,
we're even.
We're even. Listen to me. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is so fucking good. It is so amazing. It's on Netflix now. I went and I saw it. A friend invited me to a Producers Guild screening. Mm-hmm. And so afterwards they had a Q&A with Guillermo and Alexandre Desplat. Do you know who moderated this Q&A?
Who? Pinocchio himself?
Jimmy Cams. James to the Cameron. Jimmy Cams showed up to moderate. There were 5 key members of the crew. Okay, sound designer, production designer, 2 directors because Guillermo co-directed it, and Alexandre Desplat, who did the entire score. This guy was only asking his friend Guillermo questions. Can you imagine inviting Alexandre Desplat up on stage and asking him nothing? And 3 of James Cameron's questions were related to water. I kid you not. I shit you not. But I'm not going to say too much about this. It's on Netflix right now, but here's what I will say that you might not know. And this, I think, is going to make everybody want to watch this, you particularly.
Okay.
There's one thing you need to know about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It is set during the rise of fascism in World War II in Italy.
I did know that.
It fucks. This movie fucks.
You know, you're not the first person to tell me that I should watch it for that reason. And every time it comes from it's the first time it's come from a Jew.
Yeah.
And all the other times I was like, hey, just because I'm Jewish doesn't mean I want to watch a thing about fascism. But
Mussolini is a character in this film.
in Pinocchio?
Yeah. Pinocchio's dark and weird.
What's happening?
And something I didn't know, Ewan McGregor's the cricket.
Sure, man.
Ewan McGregor plays the cricket.
Wow.
Yeah.
Eggs Amazing wants to know, but is it better than Puss in Boots: The Last Wish?
I have not seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I haven't seen any of the Puss in Boots content. But Hector Navarro's ride or die for Puss in Boots.
He really is.
He was literally leaving to go see it when he was on our show. He was like, I'm going to go watch Puss in Boots this afternoon.
And from a follow-up conversation with him, he really loves it.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people tweeting about it. I've seen people tweeting about this in like a Paddington 2 way.
Yeah.
Puss in Boots, which makes me wonder, like, maybe I should go watch this Puss in Boots.
You know, I never saw Paddington either.
Oh, listen, Paddington, the first one, very sweet, very good, wonderful film. Paddington 2.
Yeah.
Paddington 2 is the Babe 2 Pig in the City of Paddington movies.
With my week instead, because I only had time to watch one thing, and I watched the Matilda musical that dropped on Netflix at the end of December.
Yeah.
That's so fucking good.
Yeah?
It's so good.
Well, the Matilda musical was good. Like the Broadway musical.
Yeah. The adaptation is incredible. Like, I feel like, look, we whiff a lot of like musical adaptations as like a film industry. I cried very quickly. But also, that's just fucked up kid things. I realize not everyone's gonna cry during Matilda. Kids that got fucked up, gonna cry during Matilda.
Oh, yeah.
Kids that got real fucked up, yeah, you're gonna cry during Matilda.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Roald Dahl, man. Roald Dahl. I hope Netflix doesn't fumble the rest of this license that they have. They've canceled some stuff already where I'm like,
well, he also was notorious for being a monster, so.
Sure. Listen, here's the problem. I have found that a lot of the things that I like were created by monsters. Let's just jump right into it. Here's one. You know that Justin Roiland?
Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, has been charged with felony domestic assault.
Yeah, one of those charges, which I have to find the exact wording for the charge, but really spooked me. It was the one where he's holding somebody against their will.
So Justin Roiland pleaded not guilty to 2 felony charges of domestic battery and false imprisonment of his ex-girlfriend.
Oof. Look, woof. Like, that's what I've had to say. Like, here's the thing, the Dan Harmon thing, right? Like, Dan Harmon, very publicly, was a messy man for a very long time. And like, who knows whether he is less messy or better at hiding it or has people around him that hide it better. You can never tell. So, you know, anybody in that circle of orbit, you definitely, I'm not shocked that you got to look at twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with this in mind, this happened or at least the charges were filed, the complaint was filed back in May of 2020. So also not a very long time ago. This isn't like a piece to even have an opinion on other than fuck you, Justin Roiland, get wrecked, rot in prison.
To this Andrew Callaghan as well from Channel 5, previously All Gas No Breaks, also was accused by a few women of sexual coercion. And it's just a fucking bummer, man. It's a fucking bummer that these people are terrible.
May these men rot. Next story. Why? What else? Let's do, I guess, like the little bit of businessy news.
Let's get all this out of the way. Let's get it out of the way.
And this isn't like bad news.
No.
It's just an interesting conversation. Amaranth, of course, we have covered the saga of Amaranth in many, many ways over the years here. Amaranth, of course, was somebody who would be considered an adult content creator on Twitch, OnlyFans, etc.
Most recently, though, we have covered the fact that she was in a pretty abusive and terrible relationship, and a lot of her content she felt coerced and forced to make. After she got out of that relationship a few months ago, she has sort of changed the tone of her content and the way she approaches making content.
Well,
but some people have asked.
It's just that she's still making adult content
right.
this time. So
and the problem is internet dudes. When people are speaking on the internet, dudes in particular on social media, they can only have binary opinion. And so they wonder, if was coerced, why not stop entirely now?
So, Amaranth was kind and patient enough to answer this, which she's often kind and patient enough to answer more than she has to. So, of course, she had a massive OnlyFans account, a massive platform that employed a bunch of people. And essentially, you know, the TLDR is she said that she directly employed 20 people and 9 of them were like exclusively on adult content. So she was in the process of transitioning those employees to other work that they can do for her when she does stop making adult content and not safe for work content. But she was like, I'm not simply going to, just because like I built this thing and I'm responsible for these people, I'm not just going to suddenly shut it down and then have all of my people unemployed at the same time.
Yeah.
So she spoke in here about how she's either helped people find other positions or find them within her own company, moved them over to It's Real Work, which is the foundation that she started to help sex workers. It seems like it's kind of like a combination of like outreach and like management for adult content creators.
And listen, this is one of those things where if you ask a question like that, the answer is, quite honestly, fuck you, none of your business.
Yep.
Like if she wants to continue making not safe for work content when she doesn't feel pressured and coerced into doing it, she's allowed to. If she wants to do it sometimes and not other times, she's allowed to. She's a human being. She can do what she wants with her career, and that doesn't have to fit into one tiny bucket for you.
Yeah.
But somebody in the live studio audience was just like, good Lord, the patience that she has for bullshit. And it's true.
Unbelievable. But also, there is no one with patience like a sex worker. There is simply no one with patience like a sex worker.
Listen, you want to talk about
men's bullshit?
You want to talk about the highest number of unlicensed therapy sessions,
right?
It's probably in sex work.
So, with that in mind, hey everybody, leave Amaranth alone.
Unless it's to support her.
Yeah.
Leave her alone unless it's to buy her shit.
Like, let her be. just let her live. This is, though, an incredibly responsible way to handle this, and being very transparent about that she employs 20 people directly and indirectly an additional 9. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. There's a full breakdown of kind of how that went here. And she also said, hey, by the way, like the conversation we had was not about like, she's like, I don't disagree with sex work or anything. She's like, this was about personal agency. Mm-hmm. And now she has that, which is very important. And to expect her to act any specific way with that personal agency is not very personal agency of you.
Yeah. Like
maybe.
You're at it. Yeah. It's all about what job you want to do and when you want to do it and living your own life and having your autonomy as a human being. So there you go. Final piece of business news. Not terrible news. We have some very interesting tech news.
Yeah, this is more tech than business, and right now it is just a rumor. But Bloomberg reports currently that it is possible that Apple is working on touch screens for Macs. And before any one of you talks shit, it's cool and I want it. Shut up.
Look, these Bloomberg articles come out periodically about what Apple has planned. And a lot of these things, they are true. They are prototyping them. We don't know if they're going to come out and be a product. Mm-hmm. I remember one that I was following with great interest for a long time before everybody went to multiple cameras on phones. Yeah. Was they were using, do you remember they were using oil refraction in prototypes to do optical zooms in cameras? Yeah. So your camera would have oil that it heated and cooled to like change the zoom of your camera. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. And these are things that they prototype, but don't come out. Yeah. A touch screen is one of the more likely ones. The only thing that people are worried about, that Apple I think is worried about, is the cannibalization of the iPad market, especially as the iPad gets closer and closer to being a laptop. But the other thing is like, the iPad's pretty close already. Yeah. Like the only difference between the iPad and the Mac right now is the software layer mostly. Mm-hmm. Because like you can run most of the apps you need on an iPad. You can get a mouse and a keyboard and everything. Like, let's go. Just make it all. I think it's going to be all one device. I think that's what they want. I think they want an iPad / because here's what I see happening is right now you've got your iPad Air, and your iPad Pro. Mm-hmm. I see the iPad Pro and a laptop becoming one thing, and still having something like an iPad Air that isn't, and having a MacBook Pro that is souped up from there. But if they did, something like my Surface Book, where it's like, but nicer, but better. It's more like, I guess it would be more like the Surface Go, whatever they have right now, where it's like, it's a tablet. You hook a keyboard up to it. You hook a mouse up to it when you want to. Mm-hmm. They kept it like a generation previous to the current MacBook hardware, right? Yeah. Like, so everything's on the M2 right now. So like this would be like an M1, just like or whatever, just like the iPad Pro is right now. Yeah. I think that's a smart move for them, having like this sort of one medium device. I would like that medium device. Yeah, I would enjoy that medium device. I don't think that there's a future where I don't have, like, this is a MacBook Pro. I got the first edition of the M1 MacBook Pros and I fucking love it. There's always going to be like a need for that higher thing, but a lot of the time that higher end thing is my PC. I want my Mac to be my accessible on-the-go thing. Like there's an M2 right now, but your M1, like it still tears through video when you edit it, right? Like, I've had no struggles keeping up with my M1. I have not felt the need to replace it yet. Yeah. But I am due for a new iPad. I haven't bought an iPad since like the 3rd generation, I want to say, and they're on like 10th now, I think. Yeah, it's wild. And like my home button's broken, like my iPad's fucked. And as a tabletop player, good to have an iPad. You gotta. But if they were in a situation where they were like, but you could also just get this touchscreen laptop, I'd think about it. People are waiting for it to drop. People are waiting for it to drop, I think.
I'm very curious to see, but I'm very excited about that, and I hope that it comes out soon.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Speaking of coming out soon, Final Fantasy 16 coming sooner than we thought, which we announced a little while back. We announced it. Square called us personally, and they said, will you please announce that Final Fantasy 16 is coming out sooner than people thought? And we said, yes, we will be the exclusive people who drop that news for you, Square. But people are like, okay, well, it's coming earlier than we thought. But is it coming on the PC? Are we going to play that on the PC? Like, when's that? When do you go? And Naoki Yoshida said, buy a PS5, motherfucker.
We'll just buy a PS5 if you're worried about it.
So you want to play Final Fantasy so hard? You baby? Then just buy a PS5. Ooh, goo goo gaga. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
The translator looked over and was like, are you sure you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Buy a PS5.
Yoshida-san says, goo goo gaga. The first thing that like pops into my head when I heard this was the when the PS3 came out and they told everybody to just like, hey, if you want the nice one, maybe you just get a second job. Remember that? They were like, just get a second job to afford your $600 game console today. The idea of like, it's interesting because they've been doing so well, at least on the Final Fantasy front with 7 Remake, of having good sound bites that people like, right? Like it's coming
buy a PS5.
Like it's coming to PC soon. Like we're excited to bring it to other platforms when we can, that sort of thing. But Final Fantasy 16 is just like, eat shit. It's a PS5 game.
Yeah.
Who knows? We're not saying that it's ever going to come out on anything else. Because guess what? Maybe we want to sell it to you twice. Wink.
For now, get a PS5, and then we'll talk.
Look, here's the thing. Square stuff is pretty broken on PC for a while. Digital Foundry just did a great thing for the beginning of the year where it's just like, hey, here are some things that the industry could do to not make PC ports suck so much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they do.
Right.
You know, for every Sony Santa Monica or Insomniac that's doing their best to give you the options that you want and make sure the tech works on PC, most people who are console first mean they are making console games.
Yeah.
And when the PC version comes out, it's like, I don't know, what's a field of view? What are options? What's a frame rate? I don't know
her.
You want something higher end than this? Look good. Look good.
Look good.
Not look good enough for you? Oh.
Buy a PS5.
Oh, our character, one hair mesh from our character drops our frame rate by 50%. Should play it on the PS5.
Our entire chat is yelling about the OGL statement. I say we cover that at the end of the show.
Babies, we know what the news is.
We know what the news is, but this is like the 100th message to come in so far and be like, they said something! They did it! It's happening!
I really do picture everybody that comes in with a news story as like a little kid running into like a library.
Yeah.
That's just like, ice cream man!
Yeah.
Ice cream man!
Yeah.
It's like, yo, we know. We can hear the ice cream man.
We hear the ice cream man. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. We're simply not opening with it. It's fine. It'll be fine. We got the news.
As far as that news goes, let's chat about Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Ubisoft is a company. They make games.
One metric company.
They are one metric company. They make video games. At one point, a lot of Rayman, and that was cool. They make other stuff, and they are known for mistreating workers horribly, and sort of being racist and sexist. But they're also known for putting out a lot of video games.
They are, which is very interesting because they just updated their 2022-2023 year-end financial targets and said, what if we didn't make a lot of video games?
Which, look, is good. One of the things that I think leads to, listen, the sexism and racism is its own, are their own gigantic issues. But I think one of the things that leads to worker mistreatment, especially in our ultra corporate, ultra capitalist society right now, is the need to make these incredibly inhumane milestones. Video game companies have been crunching since the dawn of time, and it creates a work environment where everybody is burnt out, angry, irritable, not doing their best work, not treating each other well.
Yeah.
And so for Ubisoft to pull back and go like, hey, we're canceling 3 titles that we didn't even announce. We're slowing down production on things. We need to make sure that we are putting things out in a sustainable way. That's pretty decent. Listen, we don't have to like them, but we can say, hey, if you do something decent, we can say you did it.
I'm not offering praise at this time.
No praise, but we can say you did that.
We can say no crunch is a good thing. We can say, so they canceled 3 unannounced titles so far, in addition to delaying Skull and Bones for the 6th time.
Every time they say something about Skull and Bones, I go, oh shit, Skull and Bones is still real.
Is it?
I guess.
This is the 6th delay. I don't know that it is.
I have to wonder, we've talked about this. When Skull and Bones was announced, we were all like, oh no, they're going to come, Skull and Bones is going to come out and it's going to eat Rare's lunch. There's like no way that the 2 of these online multiplayer pirate games can exist. And obviously Ubisoft is going to crush poor Rare. And no.
Not if they don't have a game.
Not if they don't have a game.
Leftist Nerd said, is there like a government mandate to put that game out?
It's weird.
Why they're not just dropping it?
The loss, like the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
And the sunken treasure chest fallacy. With Skull and Bones here is like they've been working on it for so long. They've been working on it for so long. What are we doing? What are we
Getting centered in the frame.
What are we doing? Okay. I'm going to need to move this then. Skull and Bones, they've been working on it for 6 years or something like that. I think the first time I saw and interviewed somebody from Skull and Bones was E3 2017.
Oh.
When I was hosting for YouTube, we had the Skull and Bones guy come by and we were talking about it. And I asked him nothing but shanty questions, and he would not allow me to interview him again. Wow. I think people know that the rule is don't make me interview Ubisoft people.
It was E3 2017.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
Don't let me interview Ubisoft people because I have nothing serious to say to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They used to make.
Because if I'm gonna say something serious, it's gonna be very serious, and you're not gonna like.
Well, that's the thing is I know that I'm not allowed to do that for these large clients because I'll get fired.
Right.
So I don't think I ever interviewed anybody about an Assassin's Creed that wasn't about something like animal AI.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, so how smart are these turkeys? Do you remember when they announced Assassin's Creed America, and they were like, they got turkeys and dogs. I was like, well, let's talk about turkeys and dogs. I want to know about this turkey AI.
If you're going to announce turkeys and dogs, I'm going to ask you about turkeys
That's what I'm going to ask you about. The only team that ever liked that from me was the Far Cry team.
That's nice.
Far Cry team I was just like, let's talk about how many animals I can turn into a wallet right now. How do I do that? Let's go. Can I set that on fire if I try right now? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Nice. That was the only team I enjoyed.
In other Ubisoft news, Assassin's Creed Mirage is coming, and Ubisoft has also said that it is going to be a much smaller game. They said, hey, actually, maybe some of these Assassin's Creeds got a little big.
No.
Shocking. I know. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, massive, big fucking games. And now they're like, hey, we could probably make less game. They're like, we can make less games overall. And when we make a game, we could make less game.
There's nothing I feel like when I play an Assassin's Creed game, I feel like I am one of those people in Black Mirror that's hooked up to the treadmill.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like you do, as long as you walk on the treadmill, you get treadmill points. Like giant open world games tend to make me feel that way. But Ubisoft games and Assassin's Creed games in particular, and I think it's because they are making these massive games on this yearly schedule, and so it's like you have to cut and paste a certain amount of this content, and you can feel that when you play it.
I know they've got multiple teams, but in theory, maybe if you made not a massive Assassin's Creed every year, you could release Skull and Bones.
Victor Necrofunk is saying, you guys really play Assassin's Creed games? Disappointed in y'all. No.
I haven't played an Assassin's Creed since Black Flag. That was the last Assassin's Creed I played.
I tried Egypt. I played Egypt for 20 minutes because everybody was like, no, it's different. It's really good. It's completely. And I was like, ugh. Do you know what they still won't give up on this, like, fast forward to the future shit? Who likes that shit? Who likes the lore of Assassin's Creed where it's like, I'm in the future plugging into the brain computer that shows me the past? That's so, like, it's so tacked on.
So I've said, is there one Assassin's Creed you recommend? I never really got into it. I would recommend not getting into it. I'm sorry. I want to be positive about it. I really do. It is a Ubisoft game, so I don't feel comfortable being like, yes, you should get started now. For instance, saying I played Black Flag last. That was in a time before knowing about Ubisoft as a company. And like, if you're an Assassin's Creed player, but like, if you're not, I'm like, you really don't need to get into it. There's so many incredible games.
Yeah.
There's so many good goddamn games.
If you find a copy of the original one holding up a table leg somewhere, I really like the original one, which is the one that didn't do super well because it was too confusing. And that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
It was just a weird, confusing thing with no map and you didn't know where to go or what you're supposed. I was just like, hell yeah, I'm just a weird guy who's supposed to creep around. What am I supposed to do?
Also, yeah, don't play Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah.
Play Vampire Survivors?
I don't know. Play games.
Hey, just get a PS5.
Yeah, just get a PS5 if you want to play games. And they're easy and cheap. If you can find them, so they're everywhere and they cost nothing.
If for some reason you don't or you can't find a PS5, you can play a very, very good game now on your phone. Well,
lol. Get wrecked, nerd.
Hello?
Hey, nerd.
Okay.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, there we go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. The very good beat 'em up is now on iOS from the Netflix mobile studio, and that makes tons of sense.
Yep, iOS and Android, and it still has 6-player multiplayer on the phone.
Dude.
They kept it in there. I think that's wonderful. I also believe that it is controller compatible as well, so you don't need to use the touch controls if you don't want to.
Use your backbone.
You can use your backbone. You can use your Kishi. You can use your wubble. You can use your Alakazams and your Google Gribs. All of them.
Google Grips is actually a pretty good controller.
Google Grips.
Yeah.
Google
Grips.
Not Google, because they got out of the games.
No,
they got out of games.
Google with a B.
It's the Google Grips.
Coming soon to PixelCircus.store. Google Grips.
Google Grips. You can play it on all of those things, and it's very good. I love Shredder's Revenge. I also want to give a shout out to the homemade game, ROM hack for the Genesis that came out called Shredder's Re-Revenge.
What?
Yeah, let me pull this up because it's extremely good. Shredder's Re-Revenge. I'll find a trailer.
What is the difference? What is the re of it all?
It's just a fun name that they gave it. And it is on, it's a homebrew Genesis game.
Fun.
So it's
Oh, fuck yeah, fun. Look at the intro.
yeah, this is Sega Lord X. Sega Lord X does some fun classic gaming stuff. So it's basically like they took Streets of Rage, the Streets of Rage engine, and then made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game out of Part 2, Streets of Rage 2.
Really good.
Yeah, it looks incredible.
Wow.
And it's got multiplayer. It's got all kinds of good stuff in it. It takes the art from Shredder's Revenge, but it's completely redrawn and like done for the Genesis color palette.
Yeah, you can tell.
But look at that. It's got like Genesis level transparencies and stuff and like parallax. It's a very cool game. You should play the new one as well, but this is very fun. Ronan Monkey is saying like so many quarters went into this game, but not really. This is totally new.
I love this. I love that so much. I think that's so excellent. I'm so excited. Also, while we were talking about our Google Grips.
Yeah. Get your Google Grips now. And don't forget, Google Grips Pro.
PixelCircus.store.
Google Grips Pro comes with weighted Gorgas and cham clams. It comes with weighted Gorgas and interchangeable cham clams that you can use on your Google Grips for the ultimate gaming experience for any gamer. It has Wi-Fi Berg and connects via Bluetooth.
Wi-Fi Bird.
Wi-Fi Bird and connects via Bluetooth. So you can use it with all of your classic gaming consoles.
That have Bluetooth. And Wi-Fi Bird.
And Wi-Fi Bird.
Anyways, somebody made a very good controller. This one is a GameCube controller. I'll be honest. It's a Switch GameCube controller, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Now, this is actually... There are two ways you can go with something like this, right? It's like, look, it looks like the thing, and it costs $12, and it's going to be bad.
It slides onto your actual Switch.
And the other way to go is Hall Effect joysticks. It has the magnetic joysticks.
Yeah, all of the buttons are really good.
You can change the joysticks out. You can do all kinds of things. I think this is great. Now,
it's not just like the gimmick.
Now we were talking about this, you and I, that when we saw it, and the first thing was, I want it.
Yeah.
The second thing was, do I play enough GameCube games on the Switch or games that would benefit from the GameCube layout on the Switch to make this controller worth it?
Like if I was playing a ton of Smash, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm not playing a ton of Smash, I'll be honest, at this point.
No.
But like, but
you could have that cozy first gen Animal Crossing feeling.
That's exactly it. My Switch is mostly an Animal Crossing machine. It's Animal Crossing and it's Story of Seasons. And like Pokemon. So
I've got to ask you, so you're gaming on your Switch.
Yes.
Because you're a real gamer.
Correct.
And you're gaming on your Switch and you get done with your Switch and you want to play something different and you pick up your Retroid. Do you just open up a different version of Animal Crossing?
I do.
Is it just Animal Crossing all the way down?
Yes, it is.
All right. Good.
Or I go from Story of Seasons to Harvest Moon, both valid choices. Yeah. Right now I'm playing Pokemon.
Yep.
So I'll go from Pokemon to Pokemon.
You know, Pokemon goes back.
For you.
It's back, baby.
That's not how this works.
They released a new Chameleon. And it's battle season.
Anthony, we talked about the Chameleon on Monday.
I know. It's battle season, though, Switch.
You're really trying to make the Pokemon Go happen again.
Did I just call you Switch?
Did you?
Did I just call you Switch? Did you just call me Kremit?
I didn't.
Everybody.
I didn't put together that that's what was being said at me.
Look.
What is even happening? We're tired, dude. I sat on a call. We have a lovely person that helps us out on the channel. We have like a weekly meeting on Thursdays, and I really sat on the call yesterday like, I don't know. Hey, thanks, but I don't know. So what do you need? And I was like, I don't know.
Hey, do you want peanut butter and jelly?
I bought a box of Uncrustables, Anthony.
Sure.
Because I was like, ooh, I'll feed myself little pre-made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches full of preservatives.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to defrost them, and I simply never have that foresight.
I love...
You like take them out of the fridge or the freezer a while before you want to eat them?
No, and I like...
That's a parent thing. Parents remember to take food out of the freezer for their children. No one is parenting me.
How long can an Uncrustable live in the refrigerator, though, after it's out of the freezer?
I don't know.
Probably long enough that you could just put it in there. I mean, look, if I can take like meat out of the freezer and defrost it, and it's good for like a couple days, you're good on Uncrustables.
Hey, bud.
Yeah.
It's not good for a couple days.
Yeah, in the fridge there.
I guess you put it in the fridge.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So you're saying I take them out of the freezer to prep it.
Yeah, to prep it. Did you just call me Kremit? When you get listen, there are 18 different ways to prep your Google Grip. If you're a real pro gamer and you want to prep your Google Grip in a specific way that's just for you, we offer very many options. Not only can you take the Cham Clams and replace them in any 4 of the Cham Clam slot, but you can also perplep it with your buttons.
It's getting worse. It's not perplep.
It's perplep.
It was perprep, as in prepare and prep.
Yeah, perplep. Perplep your Google Grip. If you are having trouble pairing Wi-Fi Bird,
please try perplepping your device again.
Or Bluetooth, try holding down perplep and Macca and for 10 seconds. And after holding down perplep and Macco for 10 seconds, you should see the LBG light on your Google Grip start blinking Florb. If it doesn't blink Florb and instead blinks Yell Bop, you know that it's not working.
Please call the support line. You're telling me the spider circle like this?
250 people watch this at a time. Like 250 people are just sitting here listening to this garbage bullshit come out of our mouths.
Even more garbage bullshit than usual. Anyways, it's a good controller and I'm pretty excited about it. It's pretty cool. Okay, we got a couple more pieces of news.
Sure.
We still got more news. Hey everybody, DC is doing incredibly well right now. See, because it's nonsense. Everybody, here's the news. DC, 30, flirty, and thriving. DC has got every decision in the bag, and they're both aligned with the media and the fans. Everything DC doing. You know, it's like manifesting.
Listen.
I got a TikTok, Anthony. I got a TikTok at the beginning of the year from this woman about manifesting things. Yeah. And she was like, look, I don't normally do this, but I've just been saying to myself, wow, I'm so lucky everything works out for me. Hey, that's DC right now. DC is just so lucky and everything works out for them.
DC just fucking Parks and Rec holding out their hands to the world going, I have never done anything wrong in all my life.
I've never done anything wrong.
Here's the thing, like, the whole big deal with this James Gunn, Peter Safran thing is like, there's going to be one unified vision for DC moving forward. We know exactly what we're going to do. We're gonna creatively like figure all of this stuff out. Everything's going to be fine.
Except for Batman.
What?
The Batman.
Shit, I haven't gotten to telling them about the Flash yet.
Maybe just tell him about the Batman.
Tell him about the Batman of Gotham?
Yeah.
I thought he was a myth. So listen, they said we're getting rid of everything after these next 4 movies that come out, and we're starting from scratch, and it's going to be one unified vision, except we're probably going to keep the Flash around. And don't worry, it's all going to be completely, it's going to all make sense between each other. And also,
Batman is separate.
There might be a few Batmen.
Yeah, so Matt Reeves' Batverse is to be developed as a separate entity
Which, by the way,
from the DC universe.
this whole morning has been like smelling burnt toast. But here's what I'm going to tell you. The Matt Reeves Batverse is one film.
You can't be calling it a verse.
It's one movie and a TV show that keeps changing what it is and not coming out.
Again, this is like trying to call a one-game release a transmission.
This is a mini Mishy. It's not a Batverse, it's a Batmite.
It's in fact, you know what I'd call that, Anthony? A movie.
It's just one movie. It turns out sometimes you can just put out a fucking movie. So, no, the Matt Reeves version of Batman is going to stick around, which, here's the thing, everybody's like, that's fine, because you can have like the Matt Reeves version of Batman, and then you can do a DC with, that's its own thing. But here's the thing. How far do you get into a DC universe of any kind before you need a Batman? And then you're just going to have two Batmans running around.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be two Batmans.
And not in like a fun, like, not in a fun Spider-Verse No Way Home way. Mm-hmm. In a, well, which Batman am I going to see this time? And what's this Batman doing?
What's going on in the Batverse?
Yeah. Is this My Chemical Batman? Or is this edgy, funny Batman? Because everything James Gunn is going to be edgy, funny. My biggest fear about the whole thing, Saige, is still that James Gunn said his first thing that he wants to do in the new DC universe is a young Superman, which, like,
hey, it's just going to be hanging out. The Flash, young Superman, separately the Batman, separately the other Batman, and no women. DC is doing so well, and everything works out for them.
I mean, look, I will say this. Peacemaker is good, and it has the women in Peacemaker are excellent characters.
But we don't know if Peacemaker stays around. We don't know.
We don't know. But I'd be so shocked if he doesn't keep Peacemaker around. Peacemaker is the reason they gave him this.
But supposedly he's fully resetting, his own properties included. It's just we don't know anything.
We don't know anything. And what happens to our poor Blue Beetle who's just now getting his chance? He's never going to become a space cop with booster gold now.
He's dead.
Which one? Ted Kord? Because Ted Kord does die.
Hey, Anthony?
Or is it?
Yes. To both.
Oh. Look. I desperately want, as a DC fan, I desperately want them to get their ducks in a row, and I hope this works out.
Me too.
And look, the Batman was a perfectly fine film.
Sure.
With some solid moments in it.
Sure.
And so much Ave Maria.
A couple of things from the chat.
Something you say. It could have been 20 minutes shorter, and I don't say that about very many movies.
I said that about a lot of movies, I'll be honest. Two very funny things from the chat. One, Ronan Monkey said, "Welcome to the Bat Parade." And that's good. And that's very good.
Hey, Gerard Way fans, the latest season of Doom Patrol, which is the other good thing that DC does, has Casey in it. We have gotten to the Gerard Way issues of Doom Patrol in the Doom Patrol TV show.
I will say the Batman says, gimme some of that vampire money, come on, for my Chemical Romance fans. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing was Eddie Cooper asked, oh my God, I'm gonna lose Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, aren't I? And yeah.
Look, here's why you're going to lose Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn. Here's why I think. Here's the thing. She is one of the most successful characters and the most successful actors to come out of the DC universe. I think it will be her choice to walk away if they don't offer her creative control of the Harley Quinn character and the ability to do some of the projects that she had planned for Harley Quinn. She has done a great job of biting her lip and playing along to get the projects that she wants. Like,
do you mean her tongue?
Biting her tongue. Biting her tongue and playing along. She's perplept everything perfectly, is what I'm saying. She said, you know, she really she understood that the deal was, if I want to do my Harley Quinn movie, I have to do this movie first. And I understand that as a studio, but you're going to give me my Harley Quinn movie. And they did. And then she did the follow-up thinking that they were going to talk to her about doing more.
Yeah.
Whether James Gunn is willing to talk to her about doing more. That's what it's going to come down to. And I think if they don't give Margot Robbie that creative control, number one, they're making a huge mistake. And number two, she'd be right to walk away.
She absolutely would. I mean, hey, look, she's already right to walk away, considering that they criminally underpromoted the incredible Harley Quinn movie and gave it no chance to succeed, and then didn't give her another because they were like, well, it didn't succeed, even though they named it poorly, marketed it poorly, and didn't give a shit about it. But, you know, DC loves women, and everything works out for them.
All you had to do was call that movie Harley Quinn, and then the next movie could have been Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Yep.
Or just Birds of Prey.
Yeah. It could have been even Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
It could have been Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey is the first one. The second one could have been a Birds of Prey movie. But instead, it was originally Birds of Prey, the fabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Which I loved as a title.
But you can't call a movie that and expect it to succeed.
No, I like it for the same reason. You know what it is? It's for people that do the joke that we do sometimes where I walk into a room and I go, Saige, name your 3 favorite Fall Out Boy songs.
Panic technically has a longer naming convention. Yeah. That's the name of one of the songs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah. Triangles upon me. I only see stars in your eyes.
2.
Inside the television, my mind is at play. My mother disappoints me.
3. And so for people who like that sort of thing, or like, you know, kind of like old gothic horror novels and things like that, it was it was a fun title, and I really enjoyed it. But I remember looking at it and being like, it's too many words. People are going to lose their goddamn minds. I looked at the title and I looked at the poster. I said, it's too many words, too many women. What are we going to do?
DC fans are going to hate this.
What are we going to do?
The rats are going to hate this announcement, but the rats don't run this city. We do. Get fucked, rats.
Get fucked.
But there's other good media things happening. The Last of Us TV show has its first round of reviews out, and it's getting very good reviews.
I have heard really wonderful things. I know some people that went to some of the preview screenings and they were like, holy shit, it's good. It's really, really good. So that's very, very exciting.
I have never expected any less. The show always looked like it was going to be fantastic. The concept always lended itself incredibly well to becoming a television show. I think it's excellent. I think I'm not surprised that it's fucking wonderful, and I'm very excited about that. These reviews are incredible.
Looking at these reviews, we got 5 of 5 from the Radio Times, positive from the Hollywood Reporter, 5 of 5 from Digital Spy, 5 of 5 from Empire. Variety says positive. Collider says A+. GameSpot says 9 out of 10. BBC says 4 out of 5. Like, nobody dislikes this show.
Nobody.
So that's huge.
Except for The Verge, it turns out, actually. The Verge disliked it. They said, fine. HBO's new series is extremely fine. Not great, not terrible, but fine.
Okay. Didn't really speak to The Verge, I guess. Didn't speak to their reviewer.
Everyone else is like, this is the best possible case scenario for this show.
Which is very, very exciting. I'm excited for it because I always thought that it would make a better TV show or movie than game.
Same.
So I'm stoked for it.
Which we get that here, of course, in 2 days on January 15th. And I'm sure that we'll probably watch and do a little little Patreon review maybe next week of the first episode.
Yeah, I thought it was coming out this week for some reason. I don't know why I did.
It comes out, I guess, the 15th. What's that, Sunday? Comes out on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess everybody was, I don't know. Who knows why? Who knows why I thought that? Bless you.
Thank you.
Well,
it's time to talk about what's going to consume the rest of the show, and we know it.
Wait. Let's do the fun one first.
That's what I'm leading with.
Oh, okay. Let's do the fun one first.
You know where we go from here.
Yeah.
All right, Dungeons and Dragons. It's not the news story you think, because somewhere buried amongst all of the controversy, Paramount Plus confirmed that Dungeons and Dragons is getting a live-action television series. It's been greenlit by Paramount Plus. We don't have much information right now. It's an 8-episode order. The writer Rawson Marshall Thurber, I don't know, the director of Netflix's Red Notice, will write and direct the first episode.
Okay.
I didn't see Red Notice personally. Can't speak to that.
But more importantly, he's the director of Dodgeball.
That's funny.
Dodgeball, the classic comedy. Mm-hmm. Dodgeball is one of those movies where I don't know whether it's good or bad. I just know that I can probably quote it from start to finish.
Yeah.
If somebody started, I could probably do the entire run of Dodgeball. But this speaks to, nobody, listen, Red Notice somehow most watched thing ever on Netflix, and yet, or most watched movie or something like that, and yet I don't know anybody that's watched Red Notice.
I don't know anybody's watched it either.
But, apparently it was fun. Apparently it was fun.
I hope that this show is fun. A Dungeons and Dragons show should be fun.
Look,
that would be correct.
This week, we got the season finale of Willow. And you should be watching Willow. You should watch the whole thing. And when it was done, I tweeted this out for history, for posterity, put it in a time capsule. In 6 months, when everybody sees this D&D stuff, when they see the movie, when they see the TV show, and they go, oh yeah, cool. Fantasy should be big and big budget, but it should also be like heartfelt and funny like this. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna fucking tap on my Willow sign so hard and be like, I can't believe y'all fucking slept on Willow. How dare you? Go watch Willow. Anyway, let's go back to D&D.
Okay, as everybody was yelling about at the beginning of the show when we started, because D&D Beyond released their statement while we were on our starting soon screen.
What statement? About what? Is something going on with D&D?
Here's a little bit of context. In case you haven't been on Twitter in a week and are having a better week than I am, the OGL, the Open Gaming License, is something that was offered by Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in order to create works off of their content. The OGL applied to written work and written work only. So if you're talking about things like an actual play, a show you enjoy watching, a podcast you enjoy listening to, cosplay, fan art, etc., that falls under something called the fan creation policy.
Yep.
There is a totally different policy that applies to, for instance, field save. You like field save? Has nothing to do with us.
We're protected under the Sweet Little Bean policy.
That we are.
And that's a special policy for Sweet Little Beans that says we get to do what we want because we don't mean any harm to nobody.
Now, here's what happened. Earlier this week, a leak of an early edition of the new updated Open Gaming License for 1.1 for D&D 1 was released to the public early. Now, hi everyone. I play Dungeons and Dragons for a living. I work with the channels. I work with the people. This was, and we have to acknowledge this, in the same way that everyone got really mad when the GTA 6 the GTA 6 alpha footage leaked. They were like in development, not even alpha footage, just like them being like, hi, we're developing a game, and then somebody was like, I've decided everyone should see it, and everyone was like, that looks like shit.
This was not a document that was finished. This was not a document that was for public consumption. Mm-hmm. This was a document that was going into review and was still being worked on. And the running theory online is that somebody internally leaked this. I mean, obviously somebody internally leaked it, but the theory is that somebody internally leaked it because they were afraid that some of this stuff would go through and wanted to see what public sentiment would be outside of the lawyers.
So the document that you've seen, which you mostly haven't, you've mostly seen opinion pieces in from various reporters.
But I have it tattooed on my abs.
Yep.
No.
For the most part, we're seeing opinion pieces, and then we're seeing people not even reading the opinion pieces and then regurgitating a tweet that they saw about the opinion piece, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, internet news cycle.
Was months, and I mean months from completion, and I can tell you, I've confirmed this.
Right.
Hi, we're journalists. I've spoken to them. It literally was months from completion.
Now, we will say that those sources do come from inside of D&D, so take that with whatever grain of salt you need to take.
That's the most credible source to say it wasn't done. Of course it wasn't done. They're not even defending themselves with that. They're just saying, hey, it wasn't done. Like, that is just
But I think that is
true.
but that is in a way a PR defense where it's like, oh no, we didn't mean that. We've seen that happen before.
No,
so I just want to say,
like, of course they didn't mean it. Why would they? No, it was a leak.
No, but
I can tell you with absolute certainty, it's a leak of an incomplete document.
No,
and they knew that.
Of course,
when they leaked it.
Sure. Okay.
So no, there's no like, oh, but that's opinion. Like, that is the fact.
No, that's not. I'm not saying it's opinion. I'm saying that is the statement from inside of the company, which is a different thing than, getting multiple. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. That's all.
This is what's true. It was months from completion. I've spoken to legal about it. I've spoken to my own lawyer about it. We have met multiple sources that talk about this. It was months from completion. That is also what they have said in their public statement. And I've spoken to them privately before the public statement about this. It is a piece of information that was going to people for opinion. So if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and the way that they release information, even releasing like books and stuff like that, things go to what they call unearthed arcana. Internally, they were doing, and this is what their statement says, again, what internally I have heard as well. I say as someone who does not work for Dungeons and Dragons, they're not giving me any money. This document was it's lawyer. When you make a thing and you go, hi, lawyers, please draft us a contract. And I know, because they do this every time that I go to my lawyer and I say, hi, please draft me a contract for PixelCircus. They send me the lawyer version.
Right. And
then I say, hey, I'm going to need you to make this less shitty because you're a lawyer.
Right.
You made it shitty. And it is. Every time the first draft of something is the lawyer version, it sucks.
Right.
So then they were going to take this version of the OGL, and they were going to hand it to creators, and they were going to say, hey, what do you think about this? And they never got the chance to do so because instead it got leaked. So maybe it still would have sucked by the end of it. We will literally never get to know what that would have looked like and what the actual response would have been to those internal creators that they invited in to do this, because they do that with everything at D&D. There is not a single thing that comes out of Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm not saying they never misstep on this, and I'm not saying they always listen, but there's nothing that comes out of Dungeons and Dragons that doesn't have an internal group of creators, like people that do what we do, that came in and consulted on it. It happens every time. We know the people. We see the process.
And look, a lot, some of this obviously comes from fan sentiment and player sentiment that is already a little uneasy about the Hasbro acquisition, and so that comes from a place of like, we're worried about what happens. And so when a document like this gets leaked, it sort of plays into people's paranoia or their thoughts about like, oh no, this confirms like sort of the worst fears that we had.
Yes.
Which is one part of it, but also like it's not wrong as a community to say, hey, we have worked under the last, 20, 30 years under the most permissive license anybody's ever seen in one of these IPs, and to have
the only licenses.
Yeah, and to have that sort of eroded in any way, obviously creates a little bit like will create fan backlash, because the community says, you've been letting us do all of this, and now you're putting out a document that says maybe we can't do as much of it anymore.
And that's correct. Absolutely. And there is like valid concern for what that means for us. However, again, speaking internally to people that are affected by it and are not the people that wrote the OGL. They're just like, hey, I just work here and I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
They also, under the previous OGL, the 1.0, had no repercussions if a white supremacy group decides to release a Dungeons and Dragons book, they can put the OGL Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition on there, and there actually isn't repercussion for that.
Right.
There isn't anything they can do because it is an entirely open gaming license.
The big example that they of course gave was crypto NFTs. Like, we don't want people taking your favorite characters, your favorite settings or whatever, and trying to tell you that there's only one Lux sword and it's an NFT, and if you want to use the Lux sword, you have to buy this NFT from me for 3 ethers.
Exactly. Disassembled, we're literally talking about it. I know. It's in front of me. That's why we're talking about it. Everybody, you have to just come in. I need you all to come in good faith and know that we know the news. I need you, if you show up to a news show, to assume that the news knows the news. It's okay to not want us to watch. It's okay to not want to watch us give you the news. But if you do, you gotta let us give you the news.
So that's the recap. So the deal is, and I've been watching a lot of people go back and forth over this, legal experts. Cory Doctorow from the Electronic Frontier Foundation was talking about this. And like, it's been interesting to watch people go back and forth and see what some people are cool with it. Some people have been very, very angry about it.
I've not seen a single person be cool with it, if I'm honest. And okay. So somebody earlier, it was MJ Sano, I think. I might have scrambled up your name a little bit, but was like, but this is still in there and that's concerning, and it was enough for people to risk their jobs to talk about it, so it's a sentiment that matters. Now, here's what I will say. In addition to this being an incomplete document, the understanding that the general public has of this document right now is also inaccurate. Now, the official was, originally people were trying to push for it to be released today. It was months out for completion. The new statement says, hi, it is not coming out today. It wasn't done and it's not done, and we're doing our best to get it out as fast as possible. Yeah. They did clarify a few things in here. They said it will not contain a royalty structure. It will not include the license back provision that people were afraid of, that they were afraid was a means for us to steal work, which like a lot of people were just boldly claiming, like, oh, if I make something like a module, D&D just owns my work. That's not part of it. That's not going to be in there. No, it's not true.
And we see this a lot with like large IP holders and companies, like where people are like, my idea is so good that this big company is going to steal it back. And listen, you should always be afraid. You should always protect your ideas, and you should always, but 9 times out of 10, like I know that when I'm doing stuff with Disney and with Star Wars, somebody's like, hey, check out this idea for Star Wars I had and this thing that I did. I was like, no, absolutely not. I can't look at that. Yeah. Like most of the time, large companies don't even want to look at what you're doing, right? Because they don't want to be affected by it. I don't want to look at what you're doing and be influenced by it and subconsciously or unconsciously steal your idea. That's actually legally, that's the thing that they want to do the least. Yeah. And what this license does is it's not about like people taking that stuff back from the creators. It's Wizards taking something back from the creators or anything like that. It's from a business perspective, it's them saying like, hey, this game is more popular than it's ever been. Movies are coming out, shows are coming out.
Stranger Things
happened. Like if you look at the dollar amounts that are in this contract, it's kind of like, hey, if you're making a lot of money off of D&D, like you owe us something because you did create something that's based on our work. Yeah. And at its core, that is a fair thing to ask.
Now, as a reminder, that also doesn't apply to the majority of people that make things. Right. The cap for starting to pay royalties on the IP, I had that pulled up for a reason. The cap for that starts at $750,000. If you make $751,000 on a D&D 5e source book, or now let's say a D&D 1 source book that is not officially licensed, but just using the OGL, you would owe money on the $1,000 over. You do not now back owe on that previous $750,000. You start owing after that amount. So most of the people you're concerned about, this doesn't affect. When we talk about independent creators that are just making modules, they are unaffected by this part of this.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is the core of this is good. The legalese of it confused people. And not just confused people, but also didn't confuse people who read legalese, and the people who read legalese went, yeah, it's not the best way it could be phrased.
Right. No, because again, it's a leak. Chafrikas, who is one of the law in our chat, said, yeah, this is just how legal works. No one's having fun. It's just legal. Look, doing legal. My lawyer, when I work with people, my lawyer has a reputation where when my lawyer sends you a contract, or you send my lawyer a contract, my lawyer is known for the most furious redlining and changing and like taking time. Like, she has a reputation even among lawyers for that. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. That's why I like having her, is because like when D&D, when lawyers write this up, lawyers go, lawyers are being paid by the hour to say, how do we let people do this, but also protect D&D? Yeah. We need to protect D&D for us because we own it. We need people to be able to make things. How do we do this in a way that works best for us? You're our lawyer. So the lawyer writes that up. And then it goes to internal reviews, like Saige is saying, and from people that like deal more with the community or with creators. Yeah. And those people look at it and they go, this is not going to be okay. We think this is a little too much. Yes. We could pull back on this. This is not important. Arnie said, well, killing the old OGL is a bummer. When they said that they wouldn't do that, the PR didn't walk that back. That's true. Right now, there's a new edition coming of the game. It is a little bit unspecific in here. They've kind of wavered back and forth on whether or not this will affect 5e in correlation to OGL, or if this is just going to affect 1D&D and OGL 1.1. We'll see when it comes out, because it simply isn't here yet. And I do understand that does suck when a company says something and they take it back. And I'm not here to defend a big company. Yeah. That's not of interest to me. What is of interest to me is us all having the correct conversation about it, and like looking down upon the companies when it's time. Like, because there's so much time. If you're gonna go for them, if you're gonna get them right, you better be right. So with that in mind, Dungeons and Dragons is a completely different beast than it ever was. Yeah. And with mainstream popularity, there is a certain level of control over IP that some people are going to have. Again, I think that it would be a bad thing if a random hate group was able to publish a book, and there were no legal repercussions for that. Or even, and I mean, I think that's a bad thing.
And even in a less extreme way, on the less extreme end of that spectrum, like, if people are putting out just bad, low quality, horrible stuff and branding it in such a way that it makes it look like it's official D&D stuff, and it's confusing to players, and that ruins their experience, that's something that they need to look into as well.
That doesn't apply to people who are like, hey, I just want to release my module on Drive-Thru-RPG and I'm having a good time and I wrote my little D&D module. You're not going to make $751,000. You're fine. And if you do, you made $751,000 you can pay on $1,000. Yeah. Again, there are going to be parts of this that are going to be a bad thing for some people. Yeah. There's absolutely going to be parts of this that come out and we're going to go, hey, D&D got really big, and there's going to be consequences for that do impact people. Yeah. But the people we do not sympathize with are Paizo. Okay? Because look, I'll say it here because I didn't drop off and say it on Twitter. The fact that people are flocking to fucking Paizo over this is the wildest shit. The sheer amount of not only fans but industry professionals that I see being like, wow, incredible Paizo. You're releasing your own gaming license. That's incredible.
Hey, Paizo, we remember what you did. Hey, Paizo, we remember the threads that came out a year ago about the way you treat people. And it's not okay. It's not okay, Paizo. We can't just because one company makes a better contract than another company, forget that they were terrible to other people. You can't because it's, I don't know. It comes down to like the this is a good PR move by Paizo right now.
It is. And like, look, is the D&D Beyond statement a nothing statement? Sure. Absolutely. They're making a nothing statement right now because that's what companies do next. And that's okay. It is, we don't have the thing yet, and that's all right. It's okay that we don't have the thing. We just have to wait. But if we want to talk about Paizo, if you would like to talk about Paizo, I would like you you all to leave this thread alone. I want you to know I got so close to just going and retweeting this thread, but I want no one to go and harass this woman because people are just absolutely feral about this right now. But like, if we're going to take a look at this, I would like to remind you all of what company Paizo is before we start praising on a moral basis what's a good company and what's not a good company. Because if we are going to talk about it, interesting. Well, Paizo just fired their 2 most senior customer service people, 1 woman, 1 person of color, for apparently being too willing to push back on abusive management. Of course, this also means that the last person they might retaliate against for me airing dirty laundry is gone. Featuring such hits as white woman fighting diversity efforts but claiming credit when POC managed to do them anyway. The Paizo was in debt to the mob, the executive who sexually harassed a senior woman out of the company, and more. Also attempts to force workers to return to the office before it's safe, managers lying about what their reports told them to pretend that there's support for it, demoting women for being too troublesome, the plan to milk demonetizing mental illness until they couldn't anymore. Also, the marketing director saying maybe we don't want to be positioned as the TTRPG company that supports diversity, playing pride against Juneteenth.
There is a compendium of allegations against Paizo management. There's a huge thread on Reddit. We've got Jessica Price's thread, which Saige was just reading from. We've got Crystal Frazier, who's a production specialist who made allegations against her direct manager. Paizo's system administrator, Lisa Gillett, had a long statement about how Paizo destroyed her trust because she was like, I was one of the ones that didn't have a problem until I did. And then once I did, it was the worst thing I could imagine.
And hey, Merkmoz, hey, first of all, get wrecked. Second of all, nothing. I just know how to read, and I suggest you learn. That's where I'm at with this, and I don't care. And I'm not doing it on Twitter because people are like so feral about it. But like, it is what it is. And quite simply, if everybody would just take a moment and read, we'd all be having a better time. This is as genuinely as neutral as it can be.
Yeah.
It's a big company. I'm never going to be like, big company is great. I don't like big companies, but also we work in games and big companies make the games we play.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm not going to do the like weird community clout of demanding some kind of like weird retribution for a thing that's not happening.
Yeah, this is a thing that they are still navigating. Wizards, D&D, Hasbro, they're still navigating this, and it's not finished. And you know, I'm one of the people that that genuinely believes that like seeing these things as they go along in the process is good. This feedback that they're getting, minus some of the horrible shit people are saying, but the legitimate feedback they're getting on this is good. Seeing the pushback is good. Things like this are beneficial, I think, to a certain extent, but they're not done until they're done, right?
Spirited Knight said, there is a point in reacting to a leaked document and input. Here's the thing. There was always going to be, as they say in this statement, and again, as I have been told personally, there was always going to be time for a community to react.
Sure.
It wasn't yet. It simply wasn't yet.
But I also understand people coming from the place of them saying that there was going to be time for community reaction doesn't make it so. It's what they're saying. And the leak happened, and we have seen it. And so we're going from we have to go from this timeline, right?
People reacting, but I also think people should react measured and like with the facts.
That's 100%.
If you have the correct facts in front of you, if you actually understand the OGL, because again, a lot of the actual articles, when you look at the first things that dropped on like IO9 and stuff like that, didn't even have the leaked document in it.
Right.
It had a summary of the leaked document of it.
Well, that was probably to protect them.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So you're reacting off of a summary, first of all. That's just the facts, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should have put the document in there. I'm saying that is what the article was.
No, I'm just,
So
I'm just clarifying, that's all.
In mind, if you have the actual facts in front of you and you say, hey, I've read it, I understand it, and you are upset about it, your anger is valid. That makes perfect sense to me. There are areas that are going to be frustrating, and there are areas that I disagree with, okay?
Yeah.
What I don't agree with is the outrage incorrectly. It is the people being like, oh my God, they're gonna cancel Critical Role.
Like, no.
That's not what happens here.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like, that's it. So my point is, react to the actual information. And a lot of people don't want to hear the actual information. And every time we talk about the actual information, people are like, fuck you, you're probably getting paid by them, whatever. And it's like, well, okay, it's not the thing you wanted to hear because it doesn't make you feel as riled up.
Yeah, this is the way, I mean, all sort of reporting on all sort of things goes on the internet, right? Is we got a lot of playing telephone, we get a lot of echo chamber stuff, we get a lot of people who want to be part of something or who want to voice something, and that's understandable, but you want to make sure that you are coming from a place of the actual information. And I think,
that's all you got to do.
Yeah. And I think regardless of how that draft of the license looks to you, it's not the final version. It is changing, and you should be sure that you're up on what it actually says. And like you said, I don't think it's all good. It can't all be good from a creator standpoint when, like we said, certain things are becoming more restrictive.
Yes.
From an independent creator standpoint, of course that makes it worse.
Yes.
Does it make it philosophically worse, functionally worse, actually worse for you? You have to think about all of these things. And then you also have to think about, is what they're doing and is this paperwork and are these things that they're adding in, do they make sense from a standpoint of a company that owns this thing and needs to protect this thing? And I think when you look at both of those, you're like, okay, this is not done. There are still places to go with this.
Yeah.
But I think this can end. A lot of people have been saying there's the core of a lot of good stuff in there. There are a lot of good ideas in there. There's a lot of things that are understandable in there.
Yeah.
Now it's just about nailing down the actual terminology. Like Cory Doctorow went into this really interesting thing in his thread about the difference between the term perpetual and infinite.
Right.
Right? Like, this was one of the things that got people riled up, is they were like, the OGL is supposed to be a perpetual license, and like, they can't do this. They said it was perpetual, and lawyers stepped in and they're like, hey, this is one of those things where, like, you have to understand the colloquial definition of perpetual is different than the legal definition of perpetual.
Yeah.
The legal definition of perpetual just means we have not put an end date on this.
Yeah.
But we can. So instead of saying the OGL is open until December 24th of 2020, right? They said you have a perpetual license, which means until we say that you don't have it anymore, you have it. We have to expressly say to you, you can't do this anymore. And until we do that, you're free to do it. And that's actually, legally, that's a really good place to be in, because that means if they just let the OGL go and nobody's paying attention to it, you can do what you're doing forever.
Yes.
But perpetual also means if we look at this contract, or this, because the license is a contract in a way, when you look at this license later on, if it doesn't work for us, we can revoke a perpetual license.
Yes.
And we will sometimes have to. And we will give you a new perpetual license, which is what they're doing here.
Which is what they are doing.
But it's going to be a little different.
It's going to be a little different. It's going to be some time. There are going to be some people that are negatively affected by it, and that is absolutely true. And when we talk about those creators, I empathize with that so truly. I will not empathize with Paizo.
Yeah.
I will not empathize with the maybe we shouldn't align with being a diverse company.
Now,
Yeah.
Now, Arnisha brings up a point, and you probably know more about this point than I do, of Wizards PR saying it would never be canceled. Now, that sentence to me, if I go into legal brain, immediately says to me, but they're not canceling, they're ratifying the license.
And that is true.
They're changing the license, but they're not canceling it.
And like, hey, is that fucky? Is that like a fucky way to be like, well, technically, we're not sure.
That's a little fucky.
Sure, absolutely. But I like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little fucky, but yeah, of course.
And listen, we're never going to tell you that Wizards PR gets shit right 100% of the time, or 70% of the time. Wizards PR sometimes they're doing their best, but What does it mean?
The previous company with legal again said that perpetual is legal for ongoing unless it is explicitly irrevocable.
That's the one that you want, not infinite. Thank you. It's irrevocable. If you don't have an irrevocable license, you ain't got shit, baby.
Yeah. And like, so that's just it. In this statement, they do outline some of the concerns in here. They said specifically that the OGL will contain provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate the inclusive environment we are trying to build, to specify that it covers only content for TTRPGs. That means other expressions such as educational, charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplays, VTT uses, etc. will remain unaffected by the OGL update. That content already released under 1.0A will also remain unaffected. Another one of the big pieces of misinformation going around is that everything that was already created on the OGL that made over $750,000, that they are just going to come in and they are going to swoop up.
Yeah.
That is not the case.
So AZ and Spirit of Night are saying, hey, Wizards previously said that if the OGL changed, everyone could choose which OGL to use and ignore the new one. I'm not familiar with the exact statement that they made, but remember that a statement is definitely different than a legal document, and not even everybody within an entire company will understand the legal document that the company's put out. And also that was 22 years ago.
That was 22 years ago, and they were owned by different company. Like, they were a totally different company.
Yeah.
I'm not, like, again, I don't even need to defend that, but damn, we are really being like, but in 2001, they were a different like not just like they've changed. Their ownership is different. Their management is different. Their entire team is different. Yeah. There's a totally different set of people working there since I started, like, working with and like making D&D content and having contacts there.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's like, listen, human memory is long, right? And we're like listen, 22 years is a long time. If you were to hold me to something I said 22 years ago,
I would be fine.
Yeah, like what do we? You know, and people sometimes talk about these things as if they're not like humans and change and evolution.
And like, hey, it's a company, so like you don't have to give them like the human benefit of the doubt. No, like you don't have to, but we do have to be like realistic that like, yeah, well, that was 22 years ago. 2001 game was a very different game. You know, like, okay, I can be realistic with that, but like I'm not even going to give you the like personal you've changed. It's just the fact.
Yeah, I think listen. If you care about something, you are right to be involved. Yeah. You are right to share opinions. You are right to ask questions. And you should throughout this entire process. But once again...
Why are people still arguing about this? Again, people are still being like, but products were built on that. Those products still exist. Once again, content already released under 1.0A will also remain unaffected.
So essentially what they're saying is unlike the statement they made apparently 20 years ago where they said, hey, you can choose which OGL to be under, what they're saying is something that seems that I thought that they would be doing anyway, which is if you created something under a previous agreement, it's still under the terms of that previous agreement. Anything you got in under OGL 1.0 is still bound by the rules of OGL 1.0. If you're creating something going forward, you can only be on the current version of the license, which that makes sense.
But like, maybe. I don't know what the next thing is because the new license doesn't exist. It simply is, I just want everyone to argue with the correct information. That's all I want. I just want people to actually listen and go with the same information. So when you're gonna come for a company and you're gonna hold things against them, please fucking do. Like go for it. But get it right. Go for it and get it right.
Richard DT69 is saying the 750K is gross, not profit. It's possible to gross 750K and lose money in the expenses. And it's like, I would say try not to lose money on that scale. You know what I mean? Like
It's possible, sure.
I would say
I
like
don't think it's going to affect the majority of creators.
I would say that if you have $750,000 come in based on something that's based on something you don't own,
yeah,
you're on very shaky business grounds to begin with.
You might be in a bad spot, my friend.
But also, yeah, it's
possible.
It's possible, but you know.
And again, to clarify, if you made $750,000,
and
you do not owe on the $750,000. If you make $751,000, you owe on $1,000.
Right. So it's everything over that, and you only owe for that amount over it in a year.
Correct. And the current statement says they're not even putting a royalty structure in it anymore right now. So we will wait and we will see what happens. In the meantime, everybody, take a breath. It's going to be okay. What changes is going to change, and we will adapt as a community that works around this. There is a lesson here in building around an IP that does not belong to you, and I'm not saying people shouldn't have done it. I want to be so clear. There is so much incredibly valuable content that has come from the OGL existing. There are so many wonderful works of art that should exist, and people should have a platform to do it on, and they should have the ability to license to do that.
Yes, and that's what the license is to protect, right? The license is to protect community works from people that play the game, that want to contribute in their own way. And it's not, this license is not really so you can set up your own company that is entirely based on making money off of Dungeons and Dragons, a large sized company. Because once you're doing that, that's what licensing is for. And that's what product licensing is for.
And again, personally, I don't have any moral opposition to profiting off of it.
No.
I don't have any hey, you shouldn't do that, whatever. It's a company. It's company and another company. And I don't care. That's not my problem, quite simply.
You do whatever you want. You're a human being.
I'm not going to be yeah, Hasbro should get their money. I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to say that about a company. I'm never going to say that about any big company.
No, but
I'm just going to say, yeah, that is how it works.
But what I am going to say is look, if you're selling Mickey Mouse ears that you make yourself on Etsy, and all of a sudden you're making $3 million and selling advertisement and doing all this
Mickey's
stuff.
Not calling?
You know what I mean?
Mickey's not calling?
So there are things that you should expect when you use somebody else's property. I say, keep selling your fucking mouse ears, right? I say, keep selling your Stormtrooper armor kits. I say, do these things, but don't think that you can make an entire public business that's huge. That's, $750K of gross income a year. You're a pretty good sized small business. Don't expect that you're going to be able to do that with somebody else's property and have them go, oh yeah, that's cool forever. You know what I mean? And that's what this is legally doing. Keep running your business and do it underground. That's what I say. And then don't pay taxes. And then run away.
Hey, Andy, what's going on?
What's up, Andy?
Hi. Hello. Can we have a shout out for Andy Cortez?
Our Nietzsche, we already went over. We went over it, and it's great.
We've gone over the whole thing. We're not going to talk about it anymore because we're already 15 minutes over the show.
Yeah.
We got to get going. Everybody, hey. There's a statement out. The statement out is not the new OGL. The statement is just a statement at this time.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about the topic. Thank you. Hey, thank you. So appreciate it.
Hector, GDT's Pinocchio or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish?
We'd love to know. Tell us everything, Hector. You came up earlier.
Because I saw Pinocchio last night, baby. Folks, thank you. So Hector says The Last Wish.
Whoa.
Now I got to see The Last Wish. Okay.
Whoa. Okay. Now this is truly the scandal, everybody. Anyways, everyone take a breath. D&D will continue another day. And hey.
Hector's getting paid by Big Puss in Boots. I just wanted to say that phrase.
I wish you had